What's going on, everybody? Wilson here, your spiritual hype man. Super happy to be back. Super happy to be talking about this episode. This is going to be another quick one. And again, for any new listeners out there, if you're listening, just don't forget, nothing changes until you do. It's really a mindset, a philosophy, a community. It's, I think, the change and the growth that everybody at some point needed. Definitely at some point that I needed. There's tons of things that I needed to change about myself as the individual, the self, things rooted from things that I couldn't control growing up, right? Like there's things, the influence thoughts, emotions, actions, decisions, outcomes. Influence creates thoughts drive or create emotion then drive or create the action, or inaction, those actions are decisions that lead to the outcomes, which is ultimately over a long period of time, an accumulation of all these situations, and that just ultimately is our life. So the better that we get at understanding that, being aware of the things that get us to the situations that we're not happy with, and we can start changing those things and start changing the projection of your life, or projection or trajectory of your life. Look at me using fancy words. So this one's just going to be a health tip, man. Like, most recently, so if for most of you that may know or may not know, definitely about health. Health, I think, is one of the most important things. Is the most important thing, I would say. Health, both mentally, physically, and emotionally, right? So we talk about all that. But for me, it's making sure like I start improving, like I start doing well, right? Like I haven't eaten fast food. I think the only fast food that we eat is sometimes like, and this is, again, I can count on my one hand within a year. Sometimes we'll go and get like Steak and Shake, or I'll go get a burger and fries from like Burger Bros or something like that, like out here. But never like Burger King, never like McDonald's. So I think there's levels of like fast food, and so never the tier zero, like the terrible garbage stuff ever. So I haven't done that for a while. Then shakes, then real food, then supplements is kind of where I'm at. And now I'm like, well, I definitely want to incorporate like more micro nutrient food, like super nutrient food, right? So kale, spinach, and not like I haven't. So with shakes, I used to do kale, like I still do. I used to do kale, strawberries, blueberries, spinach, sometimes pineapple, some of the like sweeter fruits, here and there. That would be my shake type. And I still do that. I still have my shakes, pretty much every day, like in terms of the sweet shakes. But having the notion of wanting to eat more nutrient-based foods, like the spinach, the kale, beets, and I would throw beets actually in my shake as well, but mushrooms, peppers, like all the veggies that you can think of, all the greens that like you're probably like it's that you probably don't see on most menus when we go out, right? Like you probably won't see most of them unless you go to like a super healthy diner or restaurant or something like that. So I had the idea. I was like, well, I'm just like, instead of trying to eat it, because sometimes it's like the texture, maybe you don't like it. For me, it's just like this. Sometimes like the texture and then having to chew and all that stuff. I was like, let me just make soups out of it, or let me make like a base. So I decided to take bone broth, and then a bunch of greens. So my first one was like kale. It was the beet. So like when you go and buy beets, like whole beets, they have leaves. And those leaves are actually very nutritious as well. So obviously I cut off the beets. I'm obviously eating the beets, but I'm also eating the greens and the leaves that come from beets. Cilantro is big. It's got a bunch of great nutrient compounds. Again, I can chat GPT and tell you what it is right now, or you can do the own research. But just, trust that cilantro is good for you. And so I'm going to continue doing that. So I put that in a base. So I did bone broth, and I threw all these things in a base, mushrooms, peppers, you know what I mean? So it was just all these good things that like are very good for you, that are packed with high like nutrient based foods. And then I just simmered it. I simmered it for like 10 to 12 minutes, added a little bit of salt to taste, added a little bit of pepper. And again, you can add whatever you want as far as like to taste. And then I put it into the blender, and then I pureed it and made a soup base. And so from there, like, if I'm hungry, and so like I got a big tub of it, right? Like a big glass, like I put it away. But whenever I'm hungry, I just take like 3 or 4 ladles. I have a nice little soup. I can then add chicken if I want to add chicken. or meat or ground beef or potatoes or pasta, or I've even added more veggies on top, like, because if you want something to crunch on and chew, like I've added peppers, I've added beets, I've added, tomatoes. So just a simple hack, and it takes like 12 minutes. So I just wanted to share that with you. I would encourage you to try it. I'm going to work on, doing this. I'm going to work on some I don't know. See, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm working through this. So I think, if I get feedback or suggestions, that would be good. So I have to set up a way to get feedback and suggestions. But I'm thinking of like creating, whether it's at some point like a cookbook or like a simple, not a cookbook, right? Because nobody wants to cook anymore. So it's got to be like 12 minutes or less, and get everything you need. Just ways and hacks of like how to make simple, good food without taking too long. I'm gonna figure out a way to create something like that, and either provide it for the listeners or provide it to whoever wants to gain access to it. That's my thought on that. So again, I hope you're having a good day. If you are, I would say the last thing is, just like fucking understanding, like just be aware that like your body is your vehicle, right? So like, if you're not giving it good fuel, if you're not giving it like good substance, at some point it's not gonna help you. And even though we're all humans, we're all the same thing, right? Like we're all the same. Everyone's a little bit different. And I think I know I've said this before. I would encourage everybody that's part of the community, to go get your blood work, and then go get your food allergy test. Like those two things, like will at least start and tell you what your body's needs, or like where your body's at right now with blood work markers, and then your food in terms of allergy tests, in terms of like what are you allergic to. So if your blood is saying you're deficient in X, Y, and Z, but you're allergic to the thing that provides X, Y, and Z, then you have to figure out a way to supplement that. And that's it. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's pretty much it. And every few months, go back and get some blood work, and maybe every like couple of years, like 3 to 4 years, you do another allergy test, because whatever wives' tales or whatever fucking thing is, like every 7 years your allergies can change. We'll have to do more research on that, but at least go get blood work, then allergies, and then look at what you're eating. I would say look at what you're eating. Try not to eat before you go to bed. I'm getting better at that. Like I went from like having really good, like doing a really good nighttime routine, then I kind of fell off a little bit. Now I'm like, all right, let me try to get back in a good nighttime routine. My morning routine is great. I have to just work on that nighttime routine. But start off with wherever you're at. Meet yourself where you're at. And just remember, nothing changes until you do. All right, talk soon. Peace.